have been a key foreign income earner in the country, beating highs of billions in the country, surpassing other than agriculture and also tourism. So they are people that we cannot ignore. And to help us delve into that matters, right here in studio, I have an advocate of the High Court. Of course, we will be touching on a lot on how perhaps some legislations could help in the diaspora vote, who is not actually a new face here, is Advocate Ken Amondi. Karibu sana, Counsel.
Asante sana.
Yes.
It's Amondi, not Omondi.
Amondi, yes.
But otherwise, thank you for inviting me to the program.
Yes.
I hope to be part of the fruitful discussion.
Indeed. Thank you, Senator Amondi.
Yes.
And of course, now we, of course, touching on diaspora, we also have to touch on guests from abroad. We have Mary Muthoni Wachira, who is the president of the Kenya Diaspora Forum, who will also help us to delve into that matter. And also we have Maurice. Actually, Mary Muthoni Wachira is joining us live from Washington in the United States of America. And Maurice Ndole, who is joining us from the state of California. Mary and Maurice, karibuni sana.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Let me say good evening, because I'm quite sure the time zone there. What time? Okay. Yes. Also, before you sleep, perhaps we can delve into this matter. Karibuni sana.
Asante sana.
Perhaps to begin with you, Mary, you are the president of the Kenya Diaspora Forum. Exactly what do you focus on?
We are focusing on the diaspora vote mainly to make sure all Kenyans from all walks of life in the diaspora are able to vote. And we are here to make sure that we have representation in Parliament, in the next Parliament. And also for people in diaspora, at least to hold some office, to hold some jobs in the government offices.
Okay, Ken, Maurice, join us.
Yeah.
As the Secretary General of the Kenya Diaspora Forum, what are you doing in preparations to the poll? We know very well that IEBC is the body mandated here in the country, but as a forum, what are you doing to ensure that at least in the year 2022, the diaspora has its voice also?
So we are doing, thank you very much for having us, Troy, and thank you for that question as well. So we are doing a lot. We're trying to reach out to as many members of the diaspora to participate in voting. I know a lot of them want to vote, and this is something that we've agitated for more than 20 years now. I mean, there's been lawsuits filed, there's been cases that have been adjudicated on. So I think it's time for us to really make a big push. And we are also not just working about asking for IEBC to give us the power to vote. We are offering ourselves as partners so that we can work together, because it's a very, very complicated exercise to be able to register people in the diaspora to vote. We understand that. And the complications cannot be done by IEBC alone. So we want to play a positive role by partnering with IEBC, working with Chairman Wafula Chebukati to figure out ways for us to make sure that we start this process, because we've been promised the vote for many years, but how it happened, and we can totally understand that it's not an easy exercise to pull off. So we are offering ourselves as partners.
Yes, and indeed, let me bring in Ken on the same. Maurice is talking about, they have agitated for this for over 20 years, and of course now they believe it's the right time that also all Kenyans in the diaspora also have their voice when it comes to the national polls next year. 20 years in the making. in the year 2017, a few countries in the East African region and South Africa, Kenyans who are there were able at least to vote for the president. 20 years down the line, is it something that we should have done long time ago, bearing in mind that they have at least a voice being Kenyans, and they are bringing in a lot of money, and especially now that we have COVID-19, which has battered the economy. They are supporting Kenya, they are supporting the economy, their voice should be heard.
I think the question of the diaspora vote is one which needs to be looked into deeply, bearing in mind the special role that the diaspora plays in so far as remissions are concerned. In fact, I think projections are that diaspora remissions range to about 3% of the gross domestic product. Of course, there is also the question of, these are Kenyan citizens, most probably even some are dual citizens, and so there's the aspect of their rights, fundamental rights in the Bill of Rights. I mean, they have the right to participate in the political process in their country. I am aware that there is one issue that has been addressed from within the confines of the Kenyan judicial structure, all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has spoken, in which case the decision of, I think it was 2016 or thereabouts, was that there has to be, the IBC are expected to progressively find a fashion through which, diaspora, the Kenyans in the diaspora may be facilitated not just to register but also to vote. And when it comes to voting, remember that if you look at the law as it currently stands, that is within the purview of the Elections Act 2012, particularly the election voter registration regulations at section 39, it basically confines or restricts their participation to presidential elections as well as in referenda. In the decision I've just referred to, and which basically reinforced the position of the Court of Appeal, it was anticipated that the IBC would come up with a framework progressively through which the Kenyans in the diaspora would not only be allowed to vote in the two strands that I just mentioned, referendum and presidential, but also in respect of other electoral positions. And this is critical because most of these Kenyans in the diaspora are really, Kenyans come from somewhere, and so one would really want to know where the place and which most probably he even invests when he's outside there. What is the nature of leadership that is there? And he or she would really want to be an active participant insofar as the elections in that particular region may be concerned, and that may have informed that position of the judiciary, and more specifically the Court of Appeal, which was reinforced by the Supreme Court. However, there is a catch in the sense that if you look at that decision keenly, it was so much pegged on the assumption that, given the fact that the judges had hope and the fact that given advancement in technology, it would then be easy to facilitate, easy to ease in the process of registration and thereafter participation of Kenyans in the diaspora insofar as the election process is concerned. And I think that is where the catch would then be, given the fact that we know, for those of us who are around, that Kenyans and technology, insofar as technology was meant to make things easier. Yes. We know the question marks that we even have in the respect of the KIEMS kit, which were basically not even meant to, as it were, facilitate the actual election process, itself, which the law envisages to be manual but transmission of the results. But my thinking is that the judge's reasoning was that we would be advanced in such a way that we could have technology as part and parcel of the actual election process in terms of voting and maybe even counting. However, from where we sit, we know that IBC is still, is still far from that sort of an approach, because the same would involve, amongst others, you are talking of the procurement and such like stuff which normally entails.
And indeed, and talking about even logistics, Mary, come in here, because looking at IEBC, it's not the first time IEBC is talking about we do not have sufficient funds to do ABCD, including voter registration. And looking at diaspora remittances, the money is quite good. Is there any way perhaps we can have a common meeting point? Because looking at the remittances, they can perhaps also engage Kenya Diaspora Forum. They can also engage the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Finance as well, so that diaspora can have their voice. Mary.
Now, about diaspora voting, we have been told many times, especially in 2017, that we were going to vote. And only when the day came, we did not vote. So we were not registered. That's what I mean. And about the finances, at least diaspora should be given first priority because of our remittances. Especially during the COVID-19, I think we were the backbone of the economy of Kenya, because nothing was going on when there was lockdown. And the people in diaspora really supported the economy wholeheartedly. We sent about 300 billion Kenya shillings or more. That is the amount that was traceable. Now, the they are determined. It's a whole constituency, whereas we are referred to as a swing, like here in the United States, what is called the swing state, that is able to determine essential, because we are not biased. And the other thing is that people in diaspora won't be corrupted. And we have been a first world democracy, and we have seen it happen, and we know what is right and what is wrong. So the vote for diaspora able to determine a good presidential candidate. So we are waiting for Bukati to give us the way. We have seen the news media that there is registration on December 6th. That is what we are reading. Yet we are in the community, in the line of leadership. We should be knowing by now what is in place, because there has to be a process. There has to be communication from the embassy, which we haven't had. And at least us being in the KEDFO, the whole of the United States and other countries, we have decided to choose the people who are community leaders, who are well in touch with the community. So we should be knowing by now if there was registration other than what we are reading from the news.
For that, and Maurice, to support what Mary is talking about, and looking at what the diaspora did for Kenyan economy, and especially when it was hit hard by the COVID-19, you are the backbone of the Kenyan economy. What are some of the proposals that you would propose? We have less than 14 days since the day that you are supposed to start the registration. What would you propose, and especially to IEBC or all the relevant bodies mandated with matters polls?
Yeah, thank you very much. The first thing I would like to propose from IEBC is talk to us. We don't know what's going on. We've never been contacted by IEBC. We've looked at their website. There is no information about what the registration they're planning to do. They're talking about doing it on December 6th, but they haven't communicated with anybody. Like Mary said, we are part of the leadership in the community. Okay, so I am in touch with every part of the community in the Central Valley of California. I know a lot of people in San Francisco area. I know a lot of people in San Diego area. So it's very strange that IBC is planning to register people on December 6th when somebody like myself and Mudhoni don't know anything about it. So the first thing we need to know is, what are their plans? Do they have anything said? Do they have any idea of how they're going to do? Another thing I want to make a note of is this one. When we remit the money, it helps the economy. But then when it comes to vote, we are put in the back burner. For us to vote, I mean, if I'm to use a sports analogy, it's almost like you want to go play, and then the time for playing the finals, you don't want your best team players to play. So you need involved in this process. Like Mary Trout, having experienced a first world democracy, you can understand how important politician promises. I mean, Kenyan politicians those have not been socialized to think of what the promises, what promises made and supposed to be delivered. Okay, so all in all, needs to ideas that we could do. I mean, in a short time, they can say, "Oh, we've not had time to do this. Is the election is coming up in August? I won't be able to do it," and stuff like that. So they should tell what I've done since the last election. It's been 5 years since 2017. What have they done? What have they done to make this effort move forward? And I'm not trying to bash IEBC. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to put them on the spot or anything. Just make sure that once we make this kind of idea, once we share this, we follow through. There is a lack of follow through, which is going to be detrimental to the future of Kenya. And because of this lack of follow through, we have repercussions that we're starting to see. We're starting to see that the youth are not engaged in politics. Okay, the registration exercise they did in Kenya, very poor. Very few people are registering to vote. Why is that? It's because they don't have it in.
Okay. And perhaps interject. Ken, you are an advocate of the High Court.
Yes.
Mary and Maurice have raised a very pertinent issue, is that when it comes to supporting the Kenyan economy and Kenyans, the diaspora is one of the best, but when it comes to play the finals, when it comes to the votes, they are put on the back seat. Is it perhaps a slack in the legislation process that we have? Do we have insufficient laws? Because they are demanding to be on the forefront when it comes to matters polls, as we have the connection back.
I think what I can say about that is this, and I agree with our colleagues in the diaspora that, in fact, when it comes to supporting the Kenyan economy, they are at the forefront, and they are all the accolades which are, heaped towards their end. In fact, whenever the presidential aspirants, including the president, goes outside,
yes,
there's always that, we are treated to the scenes where they meet the diaspora, they're encouraged to, remit their funds back to the country and blah, blah, blah. And I think it's important to note that in doing all this, and that is fundamental, the diaspora remissions are normally through, money transferred through technology. So that the question that would then be posed is, when it comes to receiving funds from the diaspora, and which is so key to the running of our economy, technology seems to be so efficient. Why then can't we amend our laws, and for that matter, I mean the voter registration regulations, such that specifically in respect of the diaspora, we have a scenario where they can participate in the polls right from registration, voter registration, including the participation in the election through electronic means. I think that is something that is possible and can be done. Like I said previously, if you look at the Supreme Court decision, the rider that it crafted was that it was upon the IEBC to find a way through which progressively the diaspora can be fully engaged in our polling process. And the advisory was such that in a structured manner, I think on a yearly basis or something like that. The IBC is expected to furnish their report in terms of the progress that they've made to Parliament. And when I talk of Parliament, I mean both the Senate and the Senate and the National Assembly. Mm-hmm. And that is the place where the laws are ordinarily made, so that it behoves and it falls upon our Parliament to then look into how they can amend the law so that it is possible to facilitate participation by the diaspora through electronic means. I know one of the problems that we have in the country, which has always been said, is the fact that we have this mistrust and distrust amongst ourselves, and I think it is not proper that we export the same to Kenyans who happen to be in the diaspora, so that we are making voting and participation in the voting process to be so difficult. I know one of the problems that the diaspora are mentioning, and why you even get few persons registering and even participating in our elections, is that you realize that the polling centers, as it were, are ordinarily in it could be the embassies, high commissions or consulates, which may be quite some distance, so that participating in the process then becomes cumbersome, and it will be not in keeping with even our constitution and the electoral acts, article 86, which envisage that the entire process should be simplified. It should be something which is accountable,
yes,
and simple. Not when you have to make me to travel, I have to move like 100 kilometers to vote. I mean, that's too cumbersome. So I think we must find a formula, and that falls on Parliament to, as it were, amend our laws so that it can then be possible, at least for purposes of the diaspora, even as we still haggle with our own mistrust around,
yes,
where we trust money transfer through M-Pesa, which is electronic. I trust, an entity that I don't know to hold my money, and yet I cannot trust the same
and
process.
I would want to bring in Mary on the same, because as you say, when it comes to the channeling of money through electronic means and everything, and Kenya is one of the leading countries in Africa when it comes to connectivity and matters ICT. Mary, do you concur with what Council is talking about, saying that we need to amend the Elections Act so that we may factor in electronic voting, which is not even in the country as we speak? And of course, in 2017, you were promised that you are going to vote. What happened?
Voting electronically, we were checking on the survey that we had here with the KDA, and 70 and above % of diaspora people feel that we should vote electronically. About 30 think that we can vote through our phones. About less than 10% we vote in person. Again, we had talked earlier in another broadcast about voting by mail, just like the way it's done in America. And people here in diaspora can volunteer to tally the votes, and we can start voting early, just like the other mail voting is done, so that everybody can have a chance to vote. What I want to tell you, Troy, is that people are very busy here, and it's not easy to coordinate all these people who are busy in their schedules. So if we are given a month to vote, I think we can do it very well. Number two, if it means to amend that law so that we are able to vote electronically, then we'll have to ship in so many votes as possible. I listened to Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga on town hall with the diaspora, and he said there is a petition, but he did not clarify, or are we going to vote electronically, or which way forward? I'm expecting all these presidential candidates, when they do town hall with the diaspora, they have to be outspoken and tell us which way forward.
Indeed, and of course, Maurice, you can come in with, if at all the diaspora could vote electronically, would be quite good. But looking at the format that was used by Kenyans who are in the African region, Basically, we cannot call that electronic voting. Looking at people, you are in Washington, you are in California, she's in Washington. Perhaps you know the polling station. Yeah, it could be quite far. What are your concerns on the same and the electoral democracy we have in the country, and especially when it comes to the
Yeah, of course, electronic voting, online voting by phone would be very, very effective for us. Use the internet for virtually everything. I mean, right now there is blockchain technology which we can use to vote securely. I mean, blockchain is the same technology where we use with bitcoins. So if we can kind of tap into such technologies, we can work to see if people can vote. And about stations, of course, that's one of the very valid reasons that IEBC has that says, okay, it's going to be very difficult to bring all these people together to vote. But that's where we come in. That's why we have a community leadership in our organization, where we can connect IEBC with all these communities, create all this volunteer army, where we can create polling stations in every location which has 3,000 plus Kenyans residing over there. So it's a matter of engaging us and getting us to work together on this. In America, I mean, the people, their citizens abroad vote in a very simple way. They just vote by mail. I mean, voting by mail is not difficult at all. It does not require so much investment. It just requires for you to print the ballot and mail it to the people who have registered to vote. And that can be done very, very quickly if we are organized. It doesn't take 5-10 years to do that. I mean, we are really puzzled by just how long it's taking IEBC to put together this simple exercise. And we're also very disappointed that despite the court coming in and asking them to do it, they're not doing it. So we feel as if we are being ignored, and we have to really encourage all the candidates. If you're going to be a candidate in this election, you need to engage the diaspora. And we're going to be looking at all those candidates who will find ways, legal ways, to support the candidates who are fighting for our rights to vote and fighting for our rights to invest back in Kenya. And let me just add something here real quick. When you allow Kenyans to vote, Kenyans in the diaspora to vote, you're not just opening up them to cast a ballot. You are actually inviting them to invest more, okay? Right now, we are talking about $3.7 billion as a lot of money. Okay, that does not even scratch the surface of what the diaspora can do to that economy. Okay, a lot of people in the diaspora do not have faith in Kenya investing there because they feel as if the Kenyan government has done enough to reach out to them. And this is a great opportunity. Voting and reaching out to the community. I know there's other organizations which have been talking about these things, okay? But it's about time for us to really make an effort, a concerted effort. And I'm calling on all candidates to reach out to us, to tell us what they're planning and how they're going to engage the diaspora, starting with voting and starting with making other priorities that we also have at KETFO, which we would like to discuss in this broadcast now.
Indeed. Mary, Morris is bringing up a very interesting that, of course, 370 billion Kenya shillings remitted in the month of October alone, which is the highest so far. But he says we haven't, as the diaspora, we haven't even scratched the surface. We can do more, but we do not have the faith or the goodwill that, of course, the governance is in the right place. Of course, the diaspora vote is deemed as the 48th county in Kenya. But looking at the few countries that have been able to vote in the year 2017, they were able only to vote for the presidential candidate. And of course, all the Kenyans, the 3 million plus Kenyans, come from different counties, and they would want that the money they send to their parents, the money they send to Kenyans, make a difference, not only when it comes to the president, but also in the county. We're looking at the governor, the senators, and the members of parliament. What is your take on that?
I say, Troy, that we are supposed to vote for presidential candidates, governor, women's rep, MP, and also the MCA. Reason is that I personally come from a particular place in Kenya, and that is where I would register to vote. Maybe I have invested in the same county I have invested in the same constituency. So it starts with the lowest. When you come to complain or to do something, you don't go the elected. So we need all the lineup, and being told that we only to vote for the presidential candidate, that is like segregating us or interfering with the rights of the people in diaspora. And also, in diaspora, we have people who invest in missions. Not only that, you have built a house in a certain constituency. There are people who go for missions. We have doctors here without boundaries who come to Kenya with some doctors from Kenya, who came here and went back to school and became doctors, or they became nurses. They organize for missions. We have seen people coming even to the people houses. Those people are supposed to be supported by the member of parliament or the governor or the women rep. If we are doing women empowerment, the rep of that area should be able to support you so that we can channel in more support from here, or more money from here to support those projects. So it's not only investment, it's also the projects that we have in hand. Even projects for the youth, we have them. We have had their cry. Us in CADFO, we are organizing, some summits for the youth so that they can have some exchange with the youth that are here, so that they can learn more on how to employ themselves, or how to create employment, or how to go about in technology.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yes, Maurice.
That governors, okay, devolution was like a lottery that the governors got. All those counties with a governor, it's almost like a little small country if you think about it. I am surprised that governors are not cashing in the diaspora population. The governor should go out and find the members of the diaspora and invite them to business summits, get them to invest in those counties. So it's not just to agitate for us to be given the right to vote. It is in the best interest of all those governors who have like a population of diaspora coming from their regions, okay, to also support that effort. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, when we decide to invest, we're going to be investing in their counties. Mm-hmm. So I am really surprised that governors have not taken advantage of that. I don't know why. Maybe they don't realize just how much opportunity it is, but it is strange that those opportunities are not being taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And it is because we have been put in the dark. It's because we have been put in the dark. We haven't been given any platform. And Troy, I want you to know that in the United States and other countries, a state like Washington State is like the whole of Kenya. The state like Texas is the whole of East Africa. That is how big we are. So when we are talking of voting from area to area, know that Washington State is like the whole of Kenya.
Yes, a very good dimension, of course, this has taken. They are also faulting the sitting governors, leaders, that they have not to tap into what the diaspora can be able to do.
Are they left holding the short end of the stick? Because if they have to vote, and if they will vote in the year 2022, they will only be allowed to vote for the presidential seat and not all the other seats, despite the fact that their money goes down to the last county in the country. Ken?
I think that one of the major shortcomings that we have, more so in respect to the question of the diaspora, is the usual, can I call it, one of the common problems that we have in our country of, we go back to our cocoons, our ethnic cocoons, when it comes to the election date, such that if we could have a scenario where the 3 million plus, most probably it will be more than 3 million plus, diaspora vote, could speak with more or less one voice, let's say to the tune of maybe 95% of the diaspora vote, then I can assure you there's a sense in which that group would very easily influence policy in the country. They would very easily influence the direction, even of the presidential vote, because 3 million voters, even if they chose any, even if they decided to vote for a person that has the good ideas and the policies, notwithstanding the fact the person may not even be amongst the major presidential contenders, the impact would still be felt. It then means that if that number, let's say around 90% of the diaspora vote, were to decide to vote for one particular candidate, of course with whom they believe best addresses the aspirations of the nation, then definitely that candidate would carry the day. And because of the block vote, it would then mean that it would be easy for them to, as it were, engage more positively and strongly within the decision making that captures our political processes. So that my suggestion would then be that if it could be possible, the diaspora, given the fact that these are Kenyans who are outside and therefore have got the benefit of knowing how the world moves and probably the direction that we ought to take, ought to play a more critical role in giving their brothers and sisters in the country direction, because in any case, what do they have to lose? It's you who it's sending, you're playing a critical part in terms of the GDP. So, come out and stand strongly and say, as a team, we feel this is the direction that the country ought to take in terms of the economy, in terms of blah, blah, blah. For purposes of the election 2022, we stand with so and so and so because of A, B, C, D. And this is how we expect this person to drive the agenda going forward. And it doesn't matter whether he will win the election or not, so that subsequently their voice will be, heard and will always be factored in. In fact, based on that, it would be very easy, for example, to influence the government that would come in, even through the parliament, because in any case, parliament is more so about the party that will win, most probably will have majority members of parliament, so that some of these things that we are talking of would then be very easily see their way into laws through the legislature. So I think they really, other than the fact of being contributors to the economy in terms of remission, I think this is the time when they also need to see how they can consolidate themselves and take advantage of their unique place where they, they find themselves in a scenario where they are not beholden so much to our ethnic cocoons, which is essentially core in, causing Kenya to be in the scenario where it is now. So I think that is one responsibility that nature has cast along the lines of the diaspora, and they must lead by action and ensure that, and they make it clear from the word go that our vote will go this direction because this is what we want. This is our expectation in terms of how our country should move in terms of economic policy, in terms of political direction. So I think that's the challenge that I would pose to them.
Indeed. And Mary, Ken has come up with an interesting view, of course, because time and again we've had the diaspora talk about we are going to support a candidate who aligns with our interest and aspiration, perhaps. And as we speak, of course, we've seen many presidential candidates come to America, to other nations where there are other Kenyans, and talking to them and telling them this is what I can be able to do, A, B, C, D, without even mentioning names. Has any candidate actually talked about that? And what does that statement say? When you talk about who will align with our interest or what we ascribe to? What we ascribe to.
We want a candidate who protect and promote our interest as people in diaspora. And being prominent will be done to how we've been promised have supported them before. As the president, I've talked to people from different states, and I have learned that after supporting some people bags and they were promised jobs, they did not get. This time, be serious, because care should get to another level of seriousness. If we do it now, then we are going to lose it. And people in diaspora are serious with whatever they say. And whatever we are doing right now, look at the policies of all the presidential candidates and see whatever they are saying or whatever they are promising to do, whether it is doable. That is one. And I'm speaking to people in Kenya. If you do not have a job, look at somebody who is talking about how you'll get a job. If you are in small businesses, look at somebody who is talking about funding small businesses, putting money into small person's pocket. If people have money in their pockets, the small people, then Kenya's economy is going to grow. If you are in education, look at the person who is favoring education. If you about security, I think from whatever we can see from here in technology-wise, they are improving, but they need to improve more. We need to bring that knowledge, because Kenyans here went back to school, as I said, and it's not the long-time diaspora. This is a new diaspora where we have professionals, and we would like to bring that knowledge to you. I'll tell you, Troy, one thing. You are looking at the dollar, but I'll tell you, in another generation, they would be getting the dollar. Because our small kids here, they are not taught in school how to live. You know, that is how America is, all in the UK. So it's us in this generation who are only giving. So what do you get from diaspora? The knowledge that we have from here, so that Kenya will stop now depending on the outside, and they depend on the inside and whatever they are investing inside. And also to divide the counties, make a county more, to be popular in one thing, like in Nigeria, the acting. We are also looking at the talented and the gifted of our youth, so that you are not based on education only to get a job. You can put food on the table through your talent and your gift. We can see them on social media, on TikTok, doing great things. If those people are empowered, Kenya is going to be different. So you are not looking at a dollar that you'll be getting every day, because it's gonna stop with generations, I'm telling you. So you're gonna tap from us what we have learned from here to make Kenya a better place to live in.
Indeed. And
speak where Mary has left. You talk about the presidential candidate who will align with your interest. What happens if at all there is no candidate who is perhaps ascribing to what you believe in or what you would want as a diaspora, despite the fact that you have that financial muscle as well as a voice?
That is, I think where presidential candidates are starting to pay closer attention to the diaspora, and I don't anticipate we're going to face a situation like that. We are going to be very aggressive in reaching out to them and inviting them to come to a forum. We are considering having a diaspora a presidential debate, which is only going to be based on diaspora issues. So we are considering doing stuff like that. So I don't anticipate, and it will be very unfortunate if that comes to pass, but I don't anticipate that we will have an issue like that. And just to add on to something that Mary has said, I mean, we are the generation, we are perhaps the last generation that's going to be sending billions of dollars in remittances, because we are now getting to the phase where we have our kids, and our kids are growing as Americans or whatever country they are growing up to be. If we do not reach out to this generation right now and get these kids to understand that Kenya is their home, we're going to lose them. That is something that Israel learned very long time ago. The Israelis have a Ministry of Diaspora, which is exacting out to generations upon generations of Israelis. They are connected to their motherland. We need to do something like that. I mean, in a different broadcast, I propose we should have a Ministry of Diaspora. And I talked for, and that idea was we don't have a location forever or ever. Okay, we have something that's gonna address those kind of connections. Those connections are important. If you want to maintain this remittance that you're having right now, then you need to reach out to generations upon generations of Kenyans, including ones who have never been to Kenya. We need to connect those, and we need to make them understand that Kenya is their motherland. And going on to that, on top of that, we need to create systems in place. Kenya is a very weird country. Kenya has to, there's some good news and bad news when you talk about Kenya. The good news is Kenya is a very talented country, a very young country. Kenya is one of the first countries who actually started to use money. M-Pesa is a leader in the world. I mean, there's no other country in the world which did something like that. If you look at the example that we give with what we did with M-Pesa, okay, it tells you that we have the ability to actually make a big
we're experiencing, unfortunately, we're experiencing a connection problem. But we saw
raised a very good issue, talking about they had proposed we have a Ministry of Diaspora. Looking at the diaspora, they are leading when it comes to remittances, and we have a Ministry of Tourism, we have a Ministry of Agriculture, but still we have the diaspora which is leading when it comes to remittances here in the country, which would address, among others, their voice when it comes to matters polls. Ken?
Yeah, I think that was a good proposal, and in fact that's why it boils down to the same issue that I raised, that there's a sense in which the diaspora must then take advantage of their numbers and their economic might to bulldoze some of these things so that they can be put into practice, and for that to happen they must be united. And how do you demonstrate that? You can only demonstrate that in terms of how you actually vote. You understand? So that then, in fact, I recall you started by saying that the diaspora is ordinarily considered as the 48th county.
Yes.
For example, why is it so difficult to somehow formalize that sort of an arrangement? Yeah, to me that is very possible, and it will be more or less a right, and it's a right which they will be demanding it as people who are also co-stakeholders, not just in terms of being having the constitutional right by virtue of being Kenyans,
yes,
but as a few people that who are contributing to around 4% of the GDP. With that, you have the capacity to make demands and you'll be heard. And it happens everywhere, in all jurisdictions. Yeah, even in America, where our colleagues are, you have the Jewish community. Small percentage, in terms of population, but because of their economic might, they'll tell you and they'll confess they do influence policy. So why can't our colleagues do that? But for that to come to fruition, then I think they really need to demonstrate that political might, which can only be, it can only come clear during elections. I think that would really be core. And like I also said the other time, that by virtue of the unique circumstance in which our colleagues find themselves in, they may not be so much beholden to ethnic shenanigans, which ordinarily encumbrances us as a nation, which is common. I mean, if you're staying around, it's like if you're in the village, I mean, the people you see around then you tend to have those, some of these, the culture will then influence you to operate in a particular way, which I would want to think and believe should not be the case with our colleagues in the diaspora. I don't expect the Luo in you when you are in Kisumu to be the same when you are in America. I don't expect you to view maybe someone who comes from Central and blah, blah, blah when you are together in Washington. I mean, the thinking must be different. So I would expect the Kenyans in the diaspora to just take advantage of that unique circumstance to, as it were, then help us as a country to, move out of some of these shenanigans. And to do that, I think I would urge them to, as much as is practically possible, just like they do when it comes to their remissions, can they also have a stand when it comes to the political direction and voting? Because like I said, they
it's
have
a good thing we're going to ask them.
Yeah, they have nothing to lose. I mean, assuming, for example, like now we have two major presidential contenders, you decide, and as a matter of fact, we are going for William Ruto or we are going for Raila Odinga, and your candidate loses. As diaspora, what do you have to lose? Nothing. I mean, the country still needs you more, but you will have spoken. Your voice will be heard, and so that then when you demand that, look, for the sake of us as diaspora, we must participate in gubernatorial MC elections, blah, blah.
And it's a good question. Let's first of all pose it to our diaspora brothers and sisters. Mary, you've heard what Ken has talked about. Perhaps they say a good way that you can voice your voice is saying that we are going to support such and such candidate as a bloc, as a diaspora bloc. And of course, even if you lose, Ken says that you have nothing to lose, because at the end of the day, your voice is only heard when it comes to the remittances. Perhaps have you thought about having such a stand where you decide this is the candidate we are gonna support, in terms of ideologies and in terms of finances, this is who we are going to support? Have you made that stand as a diaspora organization?
And now, as we speak right now, I believe we are speaking to the president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, because it's never too late. And I think we are months to election. And whatever we are talking about, we can start implementing. So we are talking on the side of the government, and we are ready to work with the government. Any presidential candidate who makes it to be the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya, we are ready to work with them as long as we are given a platform. A platform, let us have people in the diaspora nominated in parliament. Let me touch this. There are some people I have talked to, and they have tried to come and run to get a seat in parliament or MCA or governor in Kenya. We have challenges right here, because right here I'm paying my house, I'm paying rent, I'm paying mortgage, and I need to come back and foot my bills. So we don't have enough time to come and campaign. So nomination will work very well, so that diaspora is represented in parliament, in the Senate, and in other governmental offices, so that we move on. Now, right now, we don't have we don't have a choice right now. But as we say, we shall look at the person whom we will like his policies or her policies, and also there's some things we look at. Whatever you are talking about, is it doable? Whatever you are promising people, is it doable? If you say you are giving people this and this, when are you going to start doing that? Or how are you going to implement it? And if you promise more, where are you getting the money from? Tell us, are you getting it from the taxpayer? That is how diaspora, defines a good president. Number two, for a presidential candidate to be supported by a diaspora, we look at the history. I am very good in reading history about presidential candidates, even here in America. Read the history of somebody, know where that person is coming from. Who was he? Who was she before? So that we don't have crooks in the government posting like presidential candidates, and yet they want to become president to continue in their crooked ways.
Maurice, you can add to that. Have you had any presidential candidate come to you and tell you, guys, this is what I have to offer you, kindly support me?
Well, I mean, not directly as KEDFOM. We are looking forward to being approached by all the candidates. And our position is we will work with whoever candidate comes out and pushes for our interests. And there was a forum that was hosted, and Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga was able to come in and talk to the diaspora And he spoke about some issues that we are discussing, and we did raise issues about. I wasn't part of the discussion, but I watched the video, and he discussed issues about promoting business and things like those are the kind of things that we are looking to fielding candidates who speak stuff like that. And there are other issues as well that we are concerned about. We are very concerned about security. We want that if we come in to invest in Kenya, just in case we are not defrauded. We want that if we come to visit in Kenya, we are not attacked. I mean, we have a case where a young lady came over to Kenya to visit and to meet up with some other artist, and then she was attacked and she was left to die on a ditch. So we want those kind of things to be addressed. We want the courts to give us a platform where if we have an issue to address, we don't have to fly all the way back to Kenya and have that court session, because it's very expensive for us to do that. We can use technology now. COVID has taught us that Zoom is actually doable. We're actually having an interview on Zoom right now. So the same thing can be done for us to maybe litigate stuff. So there are the variables. We're not just a one-trick pony at KEDFO. We're looking at a whole host of things that affect the diaspora that we are going to be pushing for. And once we get in touch with those candidates, we'll share our views with them. We'll also be writing to Chebukati to kind of request that our request is to partner with him to help IEBC to reach out to all these diaspora locations and make sure that we start this process. We cannot be talking about that this is a progressive situation. We cannot be talking about we're going to do it later. It needs to start now.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And
there's something that has really come out very well is that they talk about the diaspora and working with Kenya and the leadership that is in Kenya. They talk about this is the best time to work with us, because at the end of the day, we are siring kids who might end up embracing other foreign passport, for example, if they decide to be fully Americans. But now we have Kenyans who have gone to work there. So this is the time that Kenya should seize the moment and opportunity to work with the diaspora. Do you concur?
Of course, I fully concur because, like I said, part of the reasons why we are, I cannot really say behind, but part of the reasons why we always seem to be moving, a few steps ahead and then 2 or 3 backwards, because of certain, we have cultural and maybe historical influences, that have somehow caused the country to compromise in terms of governance and therefore service delivery, which is responsible to why a good number of Kenyans, if you ask them now, notwithstanding the fact that the current administration has done a lot in terms of infrastructure development, but if you ask a general opinion poll, most people will tell you that they feel the country is not heading towards the right direction. I mean, opinion polls have shown that. But you realize that part of the reasons is such that those Kenyans who are in the diaspora are by nature placed in a pedestal where they can assist in, inculcating some of these basic principles. Because what are the issues that ail us so much? The first one, you realize there's the question of corruption, which has just
and they have also touched on sometimes
exactly
an issue.
Yes, there is runaway corruption, and remember, it's not just at the national government level. But also more fundamentally at the county government level, where I want to believe most of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, they would find it easier to have their projects, whatever projects that they have in mind, be channeled through county government, so that when you find governmental systems at county level which do not have proper structures in terms of how to operate, and even where they do, there are serious questions in terms of governance, where someone intends to bring an investor, or they intend to pull funds to assist in coming up with a project, and you come probably to the county and you are told perhaps you have to chip in something in terms of percentage, and yet you are coming with the best interest of your people at hand. You understand? So that these are some of the things that you realize that then it would be key if we have that segment of our country who, based on where they come from, are such that, you know, the systems in which they operate are working.
Yes.
So that they would then be the best characters with whom our governments, both national and county government, will easily partner so that we can see and realize the dreams and aspirations of our people as captured in the Constitution.
Okay.
Yes.
And as we wind up, Mary, what are some of the progressive ideologies perhaps Kenya can embrace? You in the diaspora, you know exactly what are some of the problems that are ailing Kenyans as we wind up.
There. First of all, I'm going to address corruption. They have to do something to curb corruption. And also, let me say something. They have built very nice looking highways, but they haven't been able to take care of the traffic congestion. Maybe they can copy what we have here, computerized driving, and that's some job there for the youth who are specialists in IT. And with the computerized driving, you don't have a policeman to stand on the road. You know, you get your ticket on the phone or your mailbox, and you take yourself to court or something like that. So that is one way of curbing corruption in the roads. So they can copy that, and there will be soft movement of the vehicles. So, and also about small businesses, they should be funded by the government. There should be a way of funding small businesses. And also, it's good what they did about the credit bureau to not to scrap those ones who have 5 million and below. Although the banks and the loaners are also affected, they should come out with a way where nobody loses. And also in the sector of education, like you know, they are copying a certain system here or somewhere else. But when it comes to free primary education, free secondary education, and college student loans, they don't copy that. Why? Why don't they go deeper and know where these funds come from, so that it's not a burden? Okay, let me say something. When we elect members of parliament, they are supposed to take care of, you know, bursaries and whatever. We are seeing on social media people fundraising for children to go to school. Yet you were elected to do that, and then it goes the other way around. The burden is now on the laya. So you know, that is not good.
Yes. Okay, then Maurice, kindly.
As we wind up.
So a few points. We are a story. Kenya is a very, very beautiful country. We love Kenya. We want Kenya to do well. And there's a story of good news and bad news. The good news is there is a lot of talent in Kenya. Kenyans are very smart. Kenyans are brilliant. Okay. The bad news is we don't have the systems to accommodate that brilliance. We need to develop the systems. As KEDFO, and this is the final thing I'm going to say, as KEDFO, we are here. We are offering ourselves to partner with Kenya. We are offering ourselves as a conduit to connect Kenya in the motherland with the diaspora, so that we can be able to communicate all these systems that we are talking about and make sure that our country grows and we build a strong economy that's going to work for everybody.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maurice
Ndole, who is the secretary of the Kenya Diaspora Forum, live from California State, and Mary Mudhoni Wachira, who is the president of the Kenya Diaspora Forum, live from Washington State. There we have been talking about matters diaspora. I'll give you just 10 seconds to wind up, Ken, here in studio.
In conclusion, I can say that, of course, as a country, we have the best constitution, actually even better than the American one. We have the best laws. In fact, like you said, even for the diaspora vote, everything is provided for in the regulations. There's even a Supreme Court advisory. The only problem we have as a nation is mindset shift.
Yes.
And my challenge is that is where the diaspora need to come in. And how would they do that? Let them manifest their power through the vote, a solid vote that would send a message, so that whoever shall be in the sitting at the presidency and the relevant institutions would then know that, we have a force outside there, and their views would then be factored in the various legislation and even policies that would then drive our country to the next level.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Ken, and thank you so much for creating time. It's always a pleasure. And for Maurice and Mary from the United States, I tell them it's a good night. We are going on with our show. We have been talking about the diaspora, and they say they really need to have a voice when it comes to matters polls, and especially when it comes to next year's polls. 11 countries are expected to be voting, up from 5 or 6 that voted in the year 2017, and of course we'll be keeping a keen eye on the same. Thank you so much for watching. We are continuing with NewsCheck, and when we come back, we look at matters special education. This is KBC.
Ni sauti ya mwaliko wa kituo chetu cha Kisomali Iftin FM ikipiga mbizi na njaramba kukutana na mashabiki katika road show babu kubwa hapa jijini Nairobi tarehe 27 mwezi huu. Msafara utaanza katikati ya jiji la Nairobi kuelekea South C, South B, maeneo ya Eastlands kama vile Komarok, Donholm, Fedha, Isili na kuregea katikati ya jiji la Nairobi. Jitokeza tarehe 27 mwezi huu, kutane ana kwa ana na watangazaji wa Iftin FM. Vichekesho na mahanja mtele vitateremka kwa mpigo re.
Iftin hal eber hal dibi' sagal. Iftin FM ilayska umada.
The 7th and final annual Devolution Conference is back. The conference will take place from 23rd to 26th of November 2021 at Makueni Boys High School, Makueni County. The theme of the conference is multi-level governance for climate action, with the sub-theme Sub-National Mobilization in Unlocking the Full Potential of Climate Action During and After Pandemics. The conference will be officiated by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya. To register as a delegate or exhibitor, visit www.devolutionconference.cog.go.ke or call 0718 242203.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
The Amazons did not want me to find you here gambling. I'm telling you, you're not going anywhere. You are staying.
Vicente lost the ranch because of Madame Bernarda.
Prosecution accepts the evidence and requests that an arrest warrant be issued against Mr. Julio Flores, who is now the main suspect for the fraud committed against Mr. Victoriano Santos.
Where did she go?
I don't know. We've been looking for her. Where do you think you're going with her?
I'm not going to tell you.
You'll never break us apart.
Abantu ba Mintombi Yamore. Your favorite Ekegusi station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest Kisi music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii, and its environs.
Minto FM
katika nipeza kiodi songa kabisa gandisha nipeza mikogo ntagi kwa Twitter ati mapenzi bila pombe ulisikia wapi tena tuache kunywa pombe ulisikia wapi
siri yako imekuwa nini kakaangu?
Siku zote ukiwa mpambanaji alafu unafanya kitu watu wanaelewa, obvious tutapiga tu kazi.
Kuna story ya shortcut hapa nje. Lazima tu ufanye kazi ile inafaa, ujisukume kabisa, umake sure kitu inawaka. Acha ibaki somo na jinsi ilivyo. Unajua unaweza kuwa wewe ni mkali wao, lakini kuna wakali wao kwa njia tofauti. Na uwezi shinda kivyako. So kama unakimbia na unaona barabara mahali imefika kuna mtu uwezi ruka peke yako, unarudi nyuma, unashikwa mkono, unasaidiwa kuruka. Hiyo ndo namaanisha. Sawa, aliyepanga ni Mola na ndivyo ilivyo. Sawa, acha ibaki somo. Na ibaki somo. Acha ibaki somo.
Chini ya uongozi wa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali imewekeza vilivyo katika sekta ya kilimo ili kuongeza uzalishaji chakula na pia kulinda mapato ya wakulima. Wiki hii kwenye Project 254.
My administration is currently reforming the sector by increasing output and productivity, boosting incomes in agribusiness, and ensuring household resilience and food security.
Ilikuwa sisi na njaa, lakini wakati Uhuru alikuja, sisi nasema asante kwa sababu ya hii mtu anapatia maji ya irrigation.
Tunalima mchele na inatusaidia. Tunaweza kusomesha watoto, tunaweza kukaa kama mkulima na kama mfanyabiashara mwingine. Hatuna tofauti sana. Sasa maisha tunaona maisha sasa ni mepesi.
Come out clean before I do.
Who do you think is to blame for how things are right now in your marriage? That ought to be on silent.
Sorry. Can we do this next time? Maybe later today?
That will be next to impossible since you have to disclose everything in the court of law.
Wakili, why am I hiring you?
I hope you've given her a warm welcome. This is Magdalene Chepkoech. She's our new student.
They have mwalimu hata wamenitengenezea simu.
Njue, are you sure you know all those things?
Who do you think you are talking to? Kenya's online shop will bring it to her.
Julia, you cannot believe what just happened.
What?
Imagine the selfie I posted 30 minutes ago. It has now 9 likes.
Tito Njue unasikiza, there's something called protocol. Respect it.
Do you pay school fees like the rest of us?
Of course, yes.
Then sit down like the rest of us. Njue!
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
I know what I'm talking about.
Welcome back. This is KBC News Check. In case you just join us, I'm Njue. We are on our second hour after talking about matters polls when it comes to the diaspora vote. Now we are shifting gears. We are discussing matters education and especially special education. Let's know a little bit about special education, and of course we have a new curriculum that of course the CBC, how has it been able to be integrated in special education? And to help me or to help us delve into that matter, I'm joined by two gentlemen from the Kenya Institute of Special Education, and on my extreme left we have John Muga, who is the head of department at the institution, that is the visual impairment department, and we have a lecturer from the same institution who is Gabriel Malala Okoto. Gentlemen, karibuni sana.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making time.
Asante.
Yeah,
thank you.
Briefly, John, tell us something about Kenya Institute of Special Education, where you have branches and some of the programs offered.
Yes, thank you very much. KISE stands for Kenya Institute of Special Education. It is a semi-autonomous government agency that is mandated to train teachers who will go ahead to train learners or to work with children with special needs. When I talk of special needs, I'm talking of a diversity of them. It's a wide spectrum, and KISE trains those teachers. We are also mandated with conducting research in special needs education. We have quite a number of mandates which are all focused on areas of special education, and without forgetting assessment. All children needs to be assessed.
Yes.
Since, as you mentioned, the CBC, CBC requires that every learner who goes to school must undergo a functional and educational assessment. And the KISE is the sitting of the National Assessment Center. We have branches across the counties, but KISE, we have the national, the foundation, the mother of all these assessments. Every child needs to be assessed for proper placement, whether he has special needs or not. It is important, and CBC requires that every learner is placed in that kind of a program that will benefit him and enable him to bring out his best.
Indeed.
Basically, that is.
Gabriel, perhaps you can pick it where John has left on some of the programs that are offered there, and what does it take for someone to join the institution? Because, of course, at the end of the day, they are going to be tending to children with special needs, and there are even some teachers who have special needs themselves, and they have decided they want to stick into that line and be lecturers or even teachers for kids with special needs.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. In addition to what my mentor and lecturer in the same field has mentioned, maybe I wish to also mention that KISE was established in 1986 on the 14th of February via legal notice number 17, and was charged with the 11 roles and functions. So in the KISE mandate we have 11 functions. He has mentioned quite a number. Core is the role of training teachers and other practitioners who get out to support learners and persons with special needs and disabilities. We are having a conference tomorrow, and it's in line with one of our core mandates, where KISE is basically an assessment center. We run a national assessment center whose focus is on early identification, assessment and intervention for learners with special needs education.
And perhaps to just interject a bit, you've talked about tomorrow you have a conference. Kindly you can touch on that, because at least Kenyans should know that, because when you talk about conference, Kenyans perhaps may think it's something that also is in line with the Devolution conference that we have. Perhaps you can clear that.
Thank you. I'm aware of a Devolution conference in Makueni.
Yes.
Now ours is not a political conference like one being hosted by our colleagues in Makueni. Ours is a national conference on special needs education, and this is not the first time KISE is organizing for a conference. This is the third. In fact, we are referring to it as the third KISE National Conference on Special Needs Education. The first two are hosted by other institutions. We are the first at Kenya School of Monetary Studies. Then the second, I think that was in 2019, we were hosted by the United States International University. Now then we didn't have the capacity to host it ourselves. But now we have an operational KISE hotel and conference facilities. And starting with this conference, we are going to host it ourselves and in fact invite other organizations that may organize their conferences to also come and use the KISE facilities. Now in line with the same conference, I said we are having one commencing tomorrow. Ours is purely on matters special needs education. And the theme of our conference this time is functional assessment, enhancing access to quality services for every child and youth. Functional assessment, enhancing access to quality services and quality services for every child and youth. So it is already in the public domain. It is already shared in our KISE platforms, and we have participants registering online to join us. Those from the diaspora are already jetting in. We've received quite a number, but a majority will be with us from tomorrow, the earliest hour, for this two-day conference.
Via Zoom, of course, there are some people who are going to join via Zoom.
Yeah, thank you. Our website has provisions for people who will opt to follow the proceedings of the conference online, while others will come in physically. We are working with a number of 250 attending physically, and another limitless number can follow the proceedings of the conference through the website.
Okay. Yeah. And we will get to the details of the conference, perhaps to expound on some of the mandates. You held a couple of weeks ago. You held a workshop, an ICT integration workshop.
Yes.
Kindly tell us about that and how you've been able to integrate that before we go to the CBC.
Yes, we have to ensure that all children with special needs, and particularly I say special needs because others have been taken care of across the years, but children with special needs have always been left out. We say they've been marginalized. We have to bring them on board, and this is by ensuring that they have digital literacy. They are working with the current. We have to make them 21st century learners. And we had the workshop. And the idea here was to train teachers on how to integrate digital literacy in the conduction of lessons on a daily basis. How can they bring in digital literacy in their lessons? And this was the main concern. We exposed them to the available devices, and they were able to see how to use these devices in the classes. And particularly we talked about, for the visually impaired, I remember very well, we talked about the Orbit Reader 20, a device that is being distributed by the Kilimanjaro Blind Trust to the schools, and they are turning tables. That device is turning tables for the blind, because they are able to access books, they are able to access all kinds of learning materials through that gadget, which is also why you're working with refreshable braille. Yeah.
And being the head of department, we have had CBC, of course, which was quite different from what we used to have, the education system that we used to have, the 844 system. Now, when it comes to Kenya Institute of Special Education, were there a lot of changes? Because, of course, Kenya Institute of Special Education is not quite exactly the mirror image of other education systems. Did you have any challenges, and how are you able to integrate the CBC curriculum in special education?
Thank you. That's a good question, because first of all we look at when we talk of training, what content does KISE give to its teacher trainees? One, KISE trains teachers who have already been trained. In other words, we are training teachers. We are not training students from high schools or elsewhere.
Yes.
We are training trained teachers, upgrading them into a diploma level. It's not the diploma that matters here. It is the kind of content. We have to ensure that every of our students, teachers, undergo some kind of psychotherapy. So that a teacher for the blind is able to see the world with the eyes of the blind.
Okay.
A teacher for the deaf is able to hear the world with the ears of the deaf.
Okay.
How does that happen? We have to, the teacher must understand the client, must understand the way the client learns, the limitations that are imposed by that disability, considering that hearing and seeing are basically the channels, sensory channels through which a learner receives information from the world. So the teacher must understand. Before he goes to the class, he must understand that. Therefore, now CBC is emphasizing competence. And our training was more focused on enabling authenticity in the kind of content we are giving. Bringing experiences, coming with resources that are real. For example, blind learn better by doing. So you cannot just give stories to the learner. You must bring the world to him. Because, for example, if you talk about a cow, what picture develops in the blind child's mind? He has never seen a cow. So you must bring a cow or a model of a cow to the learner before you talk about that. So that kind of change, so that whenever you are talking about anything, when you say, look here, where? According to the blind, where? So you must make sure that you actualize, you make it authentic, you make it real, so that he understands what you are teaching. So this is the kind of training we give our students. And CBC is talking of learning experiences that are relevant, that are real, creating experiences.
In short, it's actually make things better as opposed to the way things were.
You move away from abstractness to reality. So that the teacher must sit down to think of how to present certain content so that the learner gets it. And therefore, CBC is coming to lift learners with special needs towards successful inclusion. And understanding the concepts and the approaches in CBC, because I'm also a CBC trainer. Therefore, it is coming to bring the learner with special needs on board. It is coming to make learning real.
So it's actually made things better, and perhaps because you deal with the students themselves. The COVID-19 pandemic, it came at a time when, of course, nobody expected, and it disrupted even the education system. Of course, Kenya, we know how it impacted. How did it impact KISE, and how are you able to overcome the challenge?
Thank you. I must admit that the COVID-19 pandemic tampered with our calendar as KISE. But again, we had to think outside the box. We chose to offer our training courses online, a system that even enabled us to graduate some students last week on Friday. Students who would otherwise have been forced to wait until maybe normalcy returns for them to be able to attend the sessions physically. But because of the online mode we chose, quite a number benefited and were graduated last Friday.
And you've talked about a conference to ensure that and of course the milestone that you've been able to achieve, and the integration of a number of things, including technology. What is your end game? What do you want to achieve during this, you stated this 2 days conference?
It's a 2-day conference.
Yes.
Maybe I wish to take you back, because I remember you inquired about the programs that KISE offers.
Yes.
Then I remember bringing in the aspect of the conference at that point.
Yes.
But let me take you back a little. That KISE, by mandate, is a teacher training institution. But like I said at the beginning, we have 11 other roles to perform. And so presently at the moment, other than the training aspect, we have other courses that we offer within the institute. We do rehabilitation of persons who acquire disabilities later in life.
Okay.
Like you agree with me that a disability can come in at any point in life?
Yes, we are all candidates.
All of us are candidates.
Yes.
Yeah. If not because of accidents, then age will also get us there. Because whatever we are able to do today, we may not be able to do it as well tomorrow. Reason being age.
Yes.
We talk about presbyopia in our family of the visually impaired, that once you are 40, then your vision begins to deteriorate. Yeah. The deaf will also talk about presbycusis. Yeah, because even the hearing levels will deteriorate with age. So we are all candidates the way you put it. And so we have a program called rehabilitation, where persons who become visually impaired later in life, they acquire it. Those who acquire physical impairments, those who acquire hearing problems, those who acquire speech and language problems. We have programs within the KISA where we admit such students and take them through some training so that they are able to cope with their disabilities. Then additionally, KISA offers a certificate courses, which we refer to as short courses, courses in Kenyan Sign Language, courses in elementary sign language. We offer courses in various areas of specialization, like certificate in inclusive education, where people from all levels of education can come to KISE to pursue the certificate course to be able to support the learners in their workplaces. We also offer certificate course in what we call functional assessment. And that's ideally the focus of this year's conference, where we are discussing functional assessment and its place in the CBC curriculum. So we do have that short course where students come in for 1 year to pursue a certificate course leading to the award of a certificate in functional assessment. We also offer certificate course in Braille proficiency, where we polish on the skills that our students may have gathered through training, so that they are proficient in Braille reading and writing, and are also able to service the Braille machines. Because we realize that at the moment,
that's quite technical.
Not so many practitioners. Like quite a number of us are able to write and read Braille. But now the aspect of dismantling and assembling the Braille machine, it's a challenging field. And so we adopted it as part of the curriculum so that the people who go through the Braille proficiency course can also be competent enough when it comes to servicing and repairing the Braille machines. Then back to the conference, like I said, our theme is about functional assessment. And the sub-themes are quite a number. And we sought papers in each of the sub-themes. And I'm happy to report to you that quite a number of papers have been received at the moment. And we look forward to a fruitful engagement during the conference, starting tomorrow. The sub-theme areas, one was about assessment tools, materials, and equipment. We want to find out from educationists and researchers the kind of tools that we need to use maybe for assessment this 21st century.
And because, of course, everything is changing now.
Yeah.
We are moving from analog to digital in many aspects.
To digital?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Then the second sub-theme is about skills development and competency of the assessor. We want to find out whether the assessors we have with the assessment centers at the sub-county level are the 21st century assessors. Because we could be banking on assessors whose skills date back in the 1986 when KISE started. And then the third sub-theme is about resourcing for assessment. We have quite a number of papers on resourcing for assessment. Another sub-theme is about assessment approaches, the role of stakeholders in functional assessment. Then technology and functional assessment is another sub-theme. Then finally we have the role of research, policy, and media in functional assessment. Those are the sub-theme areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in Kenya, perhaps John, you can chip in with this. In Kenya, I can say we have a glut of teachers where you find that the teacher service commission, there are so many teachers, but there's just a number that they can be able to accommodate at each and any one given point. Do you experience the same, where you have so many special education teachers, but the institutions are not able to accommodate all of them?
Yeah, that's the situation. We have so many trained teachers out there.
Special education teachers?
Even with skills, we have trained very many teachers who have not been absorbed by the Teacher Service Commission. And I would compare it with a situation where you have a lot of food in the granary, but to go to the kitchen, the food is not enough for the children. So we know we have so many children out there, even in integrated programs, where the teachers are not
absorbed
enough. They are out there, but they're not enough. But the government is doing everything possible, I know, to ensure that And particularly for the government programs, and particularly CBC to succeed, we need teachers in the schools. And I know government is doing everything possible. We have seen time after time the Teacher Service Commission indicating that they will employ a certain number of teachers, and I know we are moving towards that direction. Yes.
And talking about institutions, how many special education institutions do we have? At least we are talking about, yes, we even have teachers who have not been absorbed, who are special education teachers. How many institutions? Do we have each and every county enough institutions to cater for children with special education or special needs?
No, I would say no, because not every county has programs for all categories of learners with special needs. However, the government is insisting on inclusion. And KISE is training so many teachers for regular schools, whether there are children with special needs or not. So that any time a learner with a special need joins a school, he finds a teacher already in that school. However, that does not mean that all the teachers with special needs have been absorbed. The question you ask is how many? At the moment, I may not give a specific number, because every new day we have a school for the blind coming up. For example, we have school for the children with mental challenges coming up. The number is increasing at a high rate, so the programs are coming up and up. And we are saying, although the government is insisting on inclusion, we are not saying that special schools be done away with. They will provide services to the profound cases. There are those children whose needs may not fit a regular school, an inclusive setting, and such services may only be available in a specialized kind of environment program.
Indeed. And we talk about partnership. Of course, we have partnered with various institutions, and of course there are other non-governmental institutions that you partner with or from other countries. You will address that. But before then, are there any adjustments that you had to do? Because at least you talk about kids with special needs, more or less, it was more or less like CBC even before CBC came in. Are there any adjustments that you had to do so that the former curriculum conforms with the CBC that you have right now, that we are using, all of us?
Yes, you see, it is transition.
Yes.
You're coming from the old, the content-based curriculum to a competency-based curriculum. And at the moment we are undergoing transition, because CBC is up to grade 5 now. Next year we are going to grade 6. The old program, say 844, is also on. So in the school, we have two kinds of teachers. We have all these teachers we are trained through the content-based curriculum. So we are taking them through training every holiday, and I'm actively participating in that, training teachers within the counties every holiday. So that for example, now we are going to train for grade 6, so that as the children transits, they are prepared. So adjustments are being made in terms of approaches, even to those teachers in grade 6 or 7. They must understand what is going on down there, so they can try to use the CB's approaches to improve delivery. So that when the next group, the next level, the next grade comes, they will just make a slight adjustment because they understand what has been going on. And the training has been going on, there are discussions within the school, because once you train a teacher, it does not go to cover the lamp. It discusses in the staff room, so that by the time that grade comes to the next level, already that transition is going on, and it is becoming quite smooth. Everybody is adopting this.
It's a smooth transition so far.
It is taking us to the right direction, as opposed to what used to be there.
Yes.
People will talk.
Yes.
People will talk, but it is smooth, and we are moving, and we are headed. I'm seeing a child, a 21st century child, 30 years to come. My granddaughter, my grandson, will be a completely different blend from the current.
Okay.
And
Gabriel, yes, you can add on that.
In addition to what my senior has said, is you look at the KISE curriculum, and we imagine that it is CBC borrowing from KISE, and not the other way around. Because what KISE has been doing all along has been CBC, but maybe the only new thing is the name CBC. Because in KISE we focus on the individual child, because our focus is about the individualized education program. It's what we emphasize throughout our training from the time KISE was established. And we are also seeing CBC talk about the talent, assess the child, discover their talent and nurture that talent. And that's what KISA has been emphasizing in our curriculum. So what we didn't have was the name CBC, but KISA has had all the programs that we are seeing CBC mount. No wonder most of the trainers, like my senior here, most of the CBC trainers are personnel working with us in KISA because we've had it for quite some time. The only thing we are now adopting and accepting is CBC. Now, your earlier question was about the Friends of KISA.
Yeah, partnership, because looking at KISA is a government institution, but you partner with other institutions right here in Kenya and even abroad.
Yes.
Wide and wide enough. We have an able officer in charge of partnerships in the institute. I wish I came with her. She would take like a full hour talking about the Friends of KISA. But maybe in the light of the forthcoming conference, we've partnered with quite a number of our friends. Maybe I'll mention a few, but without forgetting the Media Council, because we are here courtesy of the Media Council to make it known that we shall have a conference tomorrow, because were it not for you, then our message to the public about our conference would not have gone out there. So we are partnering with UNICEF, which has done a lot for KISA. I'm also aware of a workshop, some in-service course that KISA mounted to all the EAC assessors across the country. A program that ended in the month of October, because we had all the EAC assessors from all the corners of this country. They were invited to KISA in small groups of 50. I think the cohorts were 5, and each had like 50 officers from the sub-counties and county level. And we discussed a lot about functional assessment. And I'm now seeing this theme resonate very well with the just concluded induction for our EAC officers, because it was about strengthening EAC services. And here we now have a theme saying functional assessment, as if we still want the same people to come tell us what they are doing in the field and what we can do so that we become the assessors of the 21st century. So UNICEF played a role during that pre-service training, whatever it is, the in-service course for the EAC officers who came from all corners of this country. We have KCB, Kenya Commercial Bank. We have the National Bank of Kenya, and quite a number of Friends of KISA, because if I go listing all of them,
I'm talking about the how do you partner with them in terms of what? In terms of we've mentioned a couple of banks, so that I'm quite sure that's in terms of financial help. What about in terms of education?
In terms of education, because I look at UNICEF as having partnered with us in terms of education by organizing that we are able to train our EAC officers.
Maybe I can also come in and talk of the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. We are doing a lot in terms of training with them. We have Sight Savers International. We have been working together towards education for the visually impaired and the deaf-blind. We partner with Parkins International in terms of the deaf-blindness. We partner with actually so many of them, so many,
including our own employers, the Teacher Service Commission, the ministry. They are all our partners.
Those are all the partners that are helping you actualize the education in KISA. What are some of the challenges? Because of course, being a government-funded institution and a learning institutions, of course, there must be some challenges that you experience. And how do you overcome them?
Well, yeah, I would say one of the greatest challenges as an institution as the mother institution that is dealing with learners with special needs is how can we access how can all children in this country access our services? Here, we engage the Ministry of Education, and ourselves, we are ready to network in search of these children so that our services will get to them. That's one of the challenges, and we are working. We already we see it, and we are working with our partners towards that. We have our teachers. How can we ensure that all teachers we train are deployed to programs?
At least are absorbed.
Yes, are absorbed to the programs, so that the hot skills that they graduate with are going directly to the learner. Here, we employ and we are talking closely with our employer, the Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Education, to make sure that these teachers do not go to programs where they are not using those skills. It will be better when they go directly to serve the child.
Yes.
The government is spending a lot of money on this, and it is important that the services go back straight to them.
And looking at the statistics of the number of children with special needs vis-a-vis the number of learning institutions that we have, perhaps after you've already deployed your teachers, are they enough? Looking at the number of disabled children that we have, or looking at the special needs.
The teachers are not enough.
The teachers are not enough.
They are not enough.
And the institutions themselves, are they?
And the institutions, we cannot say they are enough, because more and more children are being identified. And placement is still an issue. Yeah.
And perhaps in your conference, Kenya, just like other African countries, we have one problem of hiding people and even children who have special needs or who are disabled. Is it something that is in the menu?
The role of the parent in the community.
Because at the end of the day, being an institution, I'm quite sure you're just not going to sit around. You know that is a problem that we have, and we are an institution that deals with special education. I'm quite sure it's that
has been the practice not only in Kenya, but I think the world over, that the birth of a child with disabilities in a family is looked at as a curse, and many families will hide this child. Others will literally kill the child just to save the family or from the embarrassment that is associated with disabilities. And like I mentioned at the beginning, assessment, functional assessment begins with the identification. But before that assessor in the field is able to assess a child, then this child must be identified. And so the family, the parents and the community at large has a role to play during the initial identification. And then from that point, then the EAC officers can come in, do the assessment, do the intervention, and do the placement. But the practice of hiding these children and not bringing them out to be supported is there. But we are fighting it maybe through parental sensitization. And maybe in line with our conference, now that the conference will also have a parallel parents workshop.
Yes.
We invited quite a number of parents who will also be doing their workshop alongside the conference. We want to also get their views about what should be done about the disabled. If possible, at the end of their workshop, they can form some support group. Then through the support group, they can reach out to many other parents, so that we try to fight the idea of children being hidden just on the basis of them having some disability. Yeah.
Indeed, I grew up near an institution, a special education institution, and I know the challenges that, of course, comes with everything from the institution to the parents themselves to the kids themselves. But I look at devolution as an answer to some of the questions that we've been asking. Like now, you've talked about, you've put it very clear that we don't have enough institutions. Have you thought about perhaps an institution partnering with the county government? Could that perhaps help to alleviate some of the pains that we are experiencing and the challenges that we are experiencing in dealing with kids with special needs?
Yes. Though education has not been devolved.
Yes.
The county governments also have a big role to play, because the children at the end of the day belong to that county, and they have a right to every share that comes to the county. I know it is in the interest of the government to establish all education facilities within different counties that will meet the needs of every learner. However, the counties, the county governments need to support the EAC officers so that all the children are identified, and there will be no more hiding of these children, because they are still being hidden. A lot of sensitization needs to be conducted. It will be good if I saw these caravans going around the villages talking about SNE as we do it during campaigns. I wish we can conduct such a campaign
Yes, and indeed I concur, because I've worked with KDPA, the Kenya Disability Parliamentarian Association, which really tries to advocate in terms of legislation, because those are the MPs, the likes of Akina Wanyonyi, the likes of Akina Senator Musuruve. Perhaps that could also add, because at the end of the day, if we have good legislation when it comes to special education and special needs, that could go a long way in alleviating some of the baggage that we have in the country.
Such an initiative will do very well if we give support to the parents. If parents know that they'll get the necessary support, they will bring out the children. But if they know you're only identifying and then leaving them, then they would rather stay back with their children. But if they knew that the moment I take my child there, the child will be supported this way and that way, they will bring them out. I wish we can go around.
Indeed.
Shouting at the top of our voice.
Gabriel, perhaps you can add on that and your final remarks, and especially when it comes to the conference, because you seem to be so hands-on when it comes to tomorrow's conference. We expect a very good conference.
I am a member of the technical committee organizing the conference, and that's why you see my answers are biased. It's like you pull me the other way, I get you back to the conference.
Okay.
But I want to make an addition to what my senior has said about the role of the county governments. Because for quite some time, everyone has looked at KISE as a primary teachers college. One that prepares teachers who go out to serve learners with special needs who are at the primary cycle, maybe from grade 1 to standard 8. We are trying to come out of it so that we can have it begin at preschool level, because I'm aware that preschool education is a county function. Because the county governments are in charge of preschool education. Then we also want to go beyond to secondary school and even post-secondary school level, so that we are able to assess and do the right placement and transition, even for youth and adults with special needs. Because maybe the times you were born, we didn't have these assessment centers. And so you may have missed an important link in your life. So even if we did it later in life, we can still place you wherever you belong, so that you can optimally function as a Kenyan. So during our recent workshop, where we had the EAC officers, we talked about the role of the county governments. And I think we might come up with a write-up also requesting them to embrace special education, so that we can do the identification at preschool level, and then let there be some department within the county setup that addresses SNE, special needs education, so that after identification of that child who is of preschool age, we have an officer in charge who will also see to it that we have sufficient staff with the training in SNE, maybe deployed to our ECD center, so that intervention and support begins at that level. Our conference, like I did mention earlier, we are receiving visitors, delegates from all over the world. This morning I've seen a few jet in from Zambia. We're expecting quite a number from other countries, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and so on, in addition to our local delegates, whom we're not also looking out. So we are looking forward to hosting about 250 delegates physically at the KISE conference. And I said the number that will follow online is limitless, because it's open. So my appeal to the general public is that we all join the conference by logging into the KISE website, which is www.kise.ac.ke. And our second one is mkutano.kise.ac.ke, so that they can register and make a choice. Make a choice either to follow the proceedings online or to attend physically.
Okay.
John,
final words.
Thank you. First of all is to welcome all of us to the conference. It's a conference that is going to open our minds, and we focus on what is going on the ground in our country, and this will help us to plan the way forward. SNE is an area that needs all our support. We have to agree that all learners' potentials must be identified, potentials must be nurtured, so that we can lead every learner towards success, because every learner is successful. It's only that we succeed at different levels. And the CBC is not bring about a concept of competition. Every learner is competing within self. So we bring out the best in every child.
from content-based to curriculum-based.
To competency.
Indeed.
Content to competency.
Thank you so much. I have been speaking with two gentlemen who are from the Kenya Institute of Special Education. We had John Muga, who is the head of department at KISE when it comes to matters visual impairment, and of course lecturer Gabriel Malala, who is a lecturer at the institution and also part of the committee that is organizing the two-day conference. And of course, if you want to know more, you just go to the KISE website so that you may be part of the conversation. And that is the end of a news check this morning. Thank you so much for joining me from 10 a.m. Till now. Of course, I'm giving way to the Kiswahili department now, of course, for Tamrini and of course Kurunzi Mashinani. Thank you so much for watching. As I always say, let's continue this conversation on social media. My name is Njue, and Susan Thuku has been our sign language interpreter for this live cast. Thank you for watching. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.